Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we've got something very interesting coming up. Something very creative and innovative. We've got an interview-style session with leading toy brands of the industry. Okay, and I think toy brands play a very, very important part of our lives, especially during the lockdown, with most of us having children that need to be engaged. So we have a special session, an interview-style session with leading toy brands. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the rise of experiential retail. Please welcome our speakers. That's country head Lego, Steen Logue. Steen, could you join us on stage, please? Did I get your name correct, Logue?
Very good.
Thank you. And Global Chief Executive Officer Hamleys, Sumit Yadav. And engaging Steen and Sumit in a conversation is our moderator, Manu Sharma. He is Global Product Head Toys at Hamleys. Steen, Sumit, and Manu. Over to you.
Hi, good afternoon. We are very, very grateful and obliged for you guys to call us here and chat about a little toy world, a world that we all love, live it on a day-to-day basis, and blessed to be part of a very happy experience space within the toy world. Just to quickly introduce to my colleague sitting next to me, in the middle is Sumit. Sumit and I go a long way. We've been working for Reliance Brands for over a decade now. He, in his current capacity, handles the Hamleys world in its entirety across the globe. So he's the head of the franchising business. We operate out of 18 countries, and he heads and manages that business. And he also manages our own operated geographies outside of India. So currently, that's the United Kingdom, where we have the Regent Street, the world's largest and the biggest toy store. Then we have Steen on stage. Steen, again, is a toy industry veteran. He's been with the Lego group. Lego, I'm sure you all are aware, is the most respected, biggest, most profitable toy company in the world. He's been with Lego for over 20 years now. He's just moved to India as the country head for Lego in India, and they have big plans to roll out all forms of retail that Lego has to offer. He's been, he's new to India, but he's been in Asia for various roles that he's played for Lego. Between 2010 and 2017, he was the head of Lego Japan. He was also the head of Lego Korea. He moved back to Europe in 2017 and worked on their commercial processes improvement, all of that. And now he's back to create the same aggressive growth story that Lego has gone through in various geographies where he's headed, to replicate that in India. Welcome, gentlemen. Pleased to have you. Before we start this conversation, I'll quickly play a couple of videos, one for Lego, one for Hamleys, just to give you an insight on how experiential retailing in toys happen. Can we have the videos, please? What you guys are seeing on screen is the new Hamleys Play concept. The world's first just launched at the GeoWorld Drive in Mumbai. To an amazing, amazing response. I think it's an immersive play experience for the kids. Added to it is toy retailing. It's doing extremely well, and we will roll out a lot of these across India and across the world in times to come. Why I chose the Hamleys Play video is, I'm sure all of you have been to Hamleys stores, understood what the core concept is, but this is the new avatar or the latest avatar of Hamleys. We'll also have a video of the latest flagship experience of Lego in New York. Can we have that video, please? Cool. So clearly, Hamleys and Lego have been redefining what experiential retailing is all about, and they've been flag bearers of the cause. And if I were to say that the two gentlemen on my left spend more time thinking on what the customer will do in their store versus what the customer will buy, I don't think I'll be wrong. But to start with my set of questions, if I were to ask you, what does the word customer experience really mean for your brand? See if you want to take it.
Yeah, I can start. It's for us, the customer experience is really any relevant experience that resonates with our customers and consumers. So examples could be, they're not confined to commercial relevance, but it could be commercial relevance. But it's also the way we engage with consumers, kids online, offline, through our whole ecosystem of, if you will, Legoland parks or exhibitions, events that we run with the likes of Hamleys around the world. So it's those kind of engagement opportunities. The proof on whether it's a good engagement or the bad engagement is really in, are they coming back to buy our products again? That's where the proof will come, but the engagement and the activity is really coming from whatever opportunities we have and our consumers have to engage with our brand.
Couldn't agree with you more, Steen. One of the things that we actually aspire in the Hamleys world, and it's in a sense an understated, what you say, vision statement, is, the journey to the Hamleys store is the, the main reason why a customer should come to the store. And if they end up buying a toy, that's a reward in itself. And that's all that we're always focused on, is saying, the kid when they wake up or the grown-ups when they wake up, they want to visit the Hamleys store because it's so much fun. And, buying toys is just by the way.
Yeah.
And in a sense, it works like magic. So everything that we do at the store, just some of the wonderful things that you're doing, we have a ritual that we've been following for more than 100 years at our Regent Street store, which is every morning when we open the store, one child rings the bell. Okay, and every day of the year, every weekend, there are people who queue up to see that ritual, and that's something we would never want to give up. Okay, and so on. So there is various things that we are trying to do to see how the consumer can spend a bit more time, and the rule is, it's how do you create more memories out of the Hamleys store versus the number of toys that you end up buying, and they do end up buying a lot of toys. But the focus is to say, how do you spend more time, and how do you have more fun, and end up interacting with toys at a much larger scale versus just picking up plastic or cardboard box toys.
Thank you. I have. So my next question, stemming from this question, is off late, now that the customers are back to stores, have you seen any changes in behavioral patterns of the customers coming to your stores? Especially with a lot of experience in store, which is a lot more touch and feel. Do you see any changes, and how have you adapted to those changes?
So, Manu, for example, for us, and it's specific to the UK, at any point in time, the Regent Street store, which is upwards of 75,000 square feet, at this point in time during the season, we have 50 demonstration stations, at least. And, these are people who are creating magic around toys and kids watching with, eyes in awe or interacting with the toys. When we reopened, there was a bit of an apprehension where, the people were worried about getting closer and so on and so forth. What we've done is we've created a fair bit of distance between the demonstrators and the children and the parents. But the excitement of having a toy out of the box and, like a drone flying around and doing some magical stuff, or the magic cards or the magic tricks, that's not gone away. In fact, the customers are happily back, saying, wow, at least now we can relive our memories at so. However, there is still a very strong constituent of customers who I personally think have moved, in a sense, permanently to online. And keeping that in mind, with our new e-com space, we are now trying to create online engagement. So, for example, we just had an online magic show. We sold out in 5 minutes, just because customers wanted to see what they can do in a safer environment. So it's a mix of both physical and digital that consumers are looking forward to. But luckily, they're back. They're back in quite a strong force.
Just to share that, I totally agree. When we in the Lego Group looked, and I was sitting in our global headquarters at the time, looking at the pandemic, seeing how stores would be closing down, people would have to be confined to literally only buying online. We were concerned whether these habits of buying online, are they actually going to stick? Are people never going to come back to the stores? But what we saw is that actually in the stores where we have activities, where there are things to be done, people are coming back and they want to come back, not necessarily for the transaction itself. That can happen in an online environment, but for the experience, for seeing what can this store actually offer to me. And I think that's an important learning from COVID. It's not that people don't want to go, they actually really want to go, but they may go for a different reason today. They want to experience more of the store. The environment that we saw in Hamleys just now is actually what people want to come back and experience. And then they will buy in the store, or the online-offline connection between the Hamleys online, Hamleys offline, is what will then generate the purchase.
Very well said. My next question, in fact, stems out from the constant conversation between physical and digital space. None of us can deny that digital commerce is gained a lot of prominence, and especially with the pandemic, people shut in their houses. A lot has moved to online space, but constant worry that all of us as retailers face on an ongoing basis is the threat of commoditizing their product, which otherwise is sold as an experience in a physical format. becoming a commodity online, which is largely driven by ease of access and possibly pricing in a lot of cases. And all of us are taking that journey. And if you could share some snippets there, or how you've been able to integrate digital commerce successfully, and how are you extending that experience online and ensuring that the product is living up to the way it is coming out in a physical store.
Yeah, I can share. Our perspective is that the physical store is probably the most important channel for us as a brand. As you can imagine, when you have kids in the age from our core ranges, maybe from 4 years to 10, 12 years, we have them in less than 10 years, and every year automatically 10% or more of our consumer group is falling off. We need to find new ways of attracting kids. They are not necessarily attracted online. They may be interested in us if they know about us, but the experience and the connection to our brand is actually coming in the offline space. So that is very much something that we are focusing on, much more actually in that sense than the offline, than the online part.
In fact, Manu, as you pointed out, a lot of people are shopping online, and a lot of people are shopping price. Okay, and the more you pivot onto that channel, the more discount-led, price-led the discussion or the conversation is, which is where physical retailing has to play its part and play it even longer, bigger and better, simply because when you're in a physical environment and you're experiencing the brand, experience the whole joy of what you're trying to achieve, that translates very well online. And if a brand can do that beautifully, like Lego, the website and their own in-store experience, you can actually close your eyes and say you're in a physical store. It's equally, in fact, more important for brands to pivot back to the fact that what do they stand for? On a e-commerce channel, it's what they stand for is price, and that's what customers buying. And the more you get sucked into it, the worse off you are. So we're playing both of them together. We're creating online experiences, but really, really pivoting on an offline experiential thing. So Hamleys Place, as an example, is a classic case where a kid can forget outside and actually touch and feel stuff. A lot of kids don't do, and parents are appreciating it. But that's another way to deliver a point that Hamleys is all about having fun, creating memories, joy. And you can buy the toy whenever you want to, whichever area you want to. So I think this is a time to over-pivot on physical retailing. At the same time, continue to build your experience online. Both have to coexist. In fact, feed off each other.
Correct. Another interesting aspect of the toy retailing industry, which I think is unique to toys, that we have the customer and the consumer are two different people. You're talking to the parent and the child at the same time. While you talking to the kid to attract him to a product, the purchase decision is actually being made by a parent. Also, a lot of this is driven by gifting, where the consumer and the customer are two different people. How do your brands engage with them at retail points of?
I think I can at least start on that one, because I think that's where probably Lego Group is a little bit of a specialist here. We actually have a very simple way of dividing this. We say children, and those of you with children, especially with small children, will know this. Once children reach the age of 3, 4, or 5 years, the latest, they know exactly what they want. So after 5 years, we are actually focusing our communication and our approach to the children, and leaving the parent with the very important role as a finance CFO of the family, saying, this is your budget, don't go above that, but within that, you'll buy whatever your kids want. And that's our approach to it.
Actually true. However, what we try and do at our store, we actually don't want to differentiate. Okay? We want the child out of that parent to come out and actually, influence that decision. We want them to be one, and that's the fundamental, difference that I've seen. In fact, our entertainers or demo guys are trained to see how to get somebody like Manu or me to fly that plane versus the child, because you want to bring that memory back. So we actually make a conscious effort to not differentiate. It is. I mean, there's a child in the parent which we all crave for. and there's a child in a child. So, so we try and see as much as possible to just let them be and have fun.
That's interesting. So, the quick question from you, Steen. Lego of late has been a lot into collaborations. I saw Lego on Adidas. I saw Lego with Levi's, and a lot more collabs that are happening of late. What's the thought process behind these collabs?
And for us, it's very much like we bring in different passion points to people. So in order to get those new kids into our world every year, we bring different passion points that can bring kids in through that. Those passion points can be cars or dolls, but it can also be someone who is really interested in Adidas sneakers, who would then through that passion come in and say, oh, Lego actually has something within the Adidas brand. For many of our franchises, especially the Technic franchise, we use a lot of real-time brands. So we will use the Lamborghini, the Ferraris, the Porsches. And that's really to get those passionate people in to get more knowledge about our brand and our world.
I can tell you, Steen, you're succeeding. Because, generally when I travel and come back, I get friends saying, can you get this for my daughter or son? I now actually have friends saying, can you get me the Batmobile? And someone just spent 220 pounds for the Lego Batmobile. And they actually begged me, and I've got a return favor, so yeah.
So, my last question to Sumit. Sumit, you've been opening a lot of stores of late. We have the Regent Street flagship experience, which is like no other, and that's why that site is among the top visited tourist sites in the world. However, if I were to ask you, because you're opening so many new stores, smaller versions of stores, stores which are very remotely located, how do you pass the Hamleys DNA to these stores?
So just one point, Manu, before I answer, we get more footfalls than Buckingham Palace does in London. And we are the 5th most visited tourist site, if I were to call the Regent Street store tourist as per TripAdvisor in the UK. So yeah, it's a challenge, to be honest with you, simply because the dynamics and the commercials of running a store like Regent Street and the experience versus a smaller store are completely different. And when you run a smaller store, there's a space challenge and so on and so forth. But what we've tried to do is we've tried to keep some of the basics always there, which is every smaller store will have demonstrations, because that's the crux to Hamleys experience, is for the child to touch and feel the toy and experience it, and interact with as a second point, with the Hamleys figures. So the Hamleys bear is always there, and so on and so forth. And then we try and create that magic over weekends with character, coming alive and so on and so forth. So in a sense, versus being a daily destination, because a regional center works differently from a tourism center, it's a weekend destination, and we try and get the activities alive on the weekend, and to make sure the Hamleys experience doesn't dilute. But it is a challenge. It's not easy. It's not a viable commercial proposition if you don't do it properly.
Correct. I think I'm happy to take any questions from the audience if there are any. Yes.
Okay, just one, okay, because we are out of time.
I'll make it as quickly as possible. Thank you, gentlemen, for this session. It's a question directed at Mr. Kochenberg mostly. All through the session, you did mention quite a few times getting kids onto the stores. As a young father myself, the last thing I want is for my kid to be hooked on to social media or anything like that. But Mr. Yadav did mention he doesn't differentiate between the parents and the kids. But for Lego, how challenging is it for you to cater to the parents rather than the kids themselves?
That's a great question. We have been kids focused for many, many years. I think we have had an adult range that we have been offering, but probably the things that we have learned during COVID is that adult audience that we have and we capture is much more important and much more broad spectred than what we thought before. We will be catering for AFOLs, what we call AFOLs, which are adult fans of Lego with special products, but we see over the past 3 or 4 years that actually that group of adults has increased tremendously. But they will obviously be coming into Lego from a more experienced building skills and more experience in terms of what does the models need to look like. So the almost life-like models of the Bugatti Chiron or the Ferraris or the Porsches. That is catering for that adult market. And we're hoping that would be a new way for India, actually, to also bring more kids in, because we think adults like yourself will bring these things to your kids if you have started with big models of the Titanic or other things in your adult time as well.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen, for your insights into the toy world. I think we've run out of time, so we can't continue with this, but I can chat for hours with you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for having us.